Welcome back, everyone, to the SPOCast. Johnny KASHMERE here. What a great week we have for everybody. A lot to talk about. Let's get our peeps in here. We got Phil Stamper back. What's up, brother?
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Good to see you, my man. And Tommy Grayson, my brother. What's up?
Whoop, whoop, y'all. What up? Tommy Grayson in the house. BackSeat Boyz.
Fago. What flavor are you drinking? Cola, it looks like.
Right now, currently sipping on some Fago Cola.
Nice. And the man himself, Donnie B. What's up, brother?
What up, folks? Look at my cool backdrop.
Whoa. I love it.
Yeah, I got a green screen this week, so I'm moving into the 2000s now in technology.
Wow.
So are you taking the place of Todd Gordon for this broadcast, Donnie B?
Oh yeah, if I put my head up more, I didn't even think of that. You're right.
Oh, Todd is God. Todd is God. I mean, Don is God.
I feel I need that in the background. Like,
yeah, I should put Phil in there.
Yeah, I think you should. For sure. So, guys, we had a great week last week. I got to tell you, I loved last week's show. If anyone listening has not watched last week's show, watch it, especially at the end with Brian Logan. Referee Brian Logan was on here, and he just spouted a lot of wrestling knowledge and surprised the hell out of us. Guys, he will not be with us tonight. He just got back from work, and his back is bothering him. So we will not have Brian Logan tonight, unfortunately, everybody. But I do have a clip from last week, so if you didn't see it, here it is. Let me ask you a question. Hold on, guys. When you came to our show July 13th in Gloucester City, and you came in the building, where was your car?
Donnie, they want to hear me tell this. Okay,
go ahead. I don't know this.
Well, because I paid a guy $50 to watch it while I was at the show.
Really? Paid a guy. So Brian Logan paid a guy to watch his car and
his Mustang.
His Mustang. So I went ahead and I used AI and I made the Brian Logan. Where is it? I got to find it. Check this out. Bad area. There's his Mustang parked in a bad area. So
can you make
when we get him back on here and we're going to chronicle different bad areas around the United States.
What I love about that, Johnny, is that he had to say, Donnie, they want me to say that. Like he had to make sure that I knew like he was being put up to tell him the story. Negative Gee.
No, dude, he impressed the hell out of me, man. He knows his shit. What else can we say? I was kind of shocked
too, bro, because his general aura of dysentopia and just negativity and all around blahness. And I'm not knocking him; it's just true. Like, you know what I mean. Gee is gee, and just the perpetually downtrodden. That's what he is. And to come across like that, well-spoken, articulate, with a lot of knowledge, he's definitely had more knowledge about the business than I realized he had. I'll be the first to say, like, I don't hang out with him on a regular basis. Distance and just life gets in the way, but he definitely shocked me, man. And he had a lot of good shit to say. I will put him over for that.
Yeah, Donnie, I think me and Trent being on the road with you rubbed off on us. And then us going on the road with Gee, we rubbed off on him. So if so fact so, hop, skip, and a jump, you're responsible for Gee's knowledge in a way.
Whoa, no, yeah, his knowledge, but not his negativity. That's not even the same thing. You guys riding with me is on the far end of the spectrum, and he's on the opposite end. That's not even in the same Marvel universe as me and Gee as together as our personalities.
Right. Exactly.
That's so like comparing Game of Thrones to My Little Pony.
Exactly.
So, guys, real quick, we announced our match. We finally have the gold title match. Feral Face will make his first ever title defense on November 2nd. Check this out, everybody. First, we have Gilbert. So, Gilbert, I pushed the wrong one. Gilbert will be joining us. The light heavyweight champion of WWE, Gilbert, will be there with the belt, by the way. So you can actually get a picture taken with the belt. And he's got brand new action figures that he's also going to have. So you got to check that out. It's going to be awesome. But the other thing I want to show you guys, if I could find it here, is this one. Here we go. So this is who the Feral Face. could I mess up any more today? So there you go. The feral face will defend the title for the first time ever against Pat Dynamite, the #1 contender. And many of you in the chat have reminded us he's the #1 contender. We did not forget. And
right.
if you notice, God knows what's going to happen with Tiny. We will revisit that soon. But as of now, look, Danger Ginger said, I almost lost my mind when I thought Gilbert was getting the title shot. Yeah, no title shot. But you will get to meet and greet Gilbert. So
Yes.
Gilbert
cool.
versus Rat Boy, LOL. Well,
I would actually pay to see that.
I think I would too, to be honest
At least
with you,
$5. Yeah.
At least.
I'll buy Phil's
At
tickets
least.
too.
So real quick before we go, I want to show Super Villain Deathmatch put out some cool videos today of me getting killed. Anyone want to watch me getting beat up in CZW really bad?
Always.
So,
I've seen it in real life.
Yes,
but,
that would be
yeah.
wonderful.
So here's Nick Mondo beat. Well, check this one out, guys.
Johnny's gonna spin around with that ladder. Johnny's. Oh my God!
That actually knocked me out. So for those that couldn't see, I had the ladder on my head and I spun it around like Terry Funk, and Mondo was on the top rope, and I went to hit him in the legs and he jumps and then gives me a double stomp on the ladder. Ooh, man, I remember I was out on my feet for like 2.5 minutes. If you watch the rest of that, you can see that Brian Logan and Trent are actually like holding me and trying to talk to me to get me to wake up. And I actually wasn't awake. That was me and Trent versus Blade and Mondo. Now, speaking of Blade, check this one out, guys.
He better be careful. Uh-oh. He better be careful. Leg drop. Welcome home. Welcome home.
Rick Blade off the biggest ladder I've ever seen, dropping a leg right in my face. So, guys, Rick Blade is going to take on Simon Gotch on November 2nd. And it's Rick Blade's first match in Philadelphia in over 20 years. We need the fans. We need everyone to help share this, to get the word out for Rick. We want to make this something special. This match is something you're not going to see anywhere else ever again. So we have to really get some people there and make this something special. So Rick Blade.
I agree. And plus, Johnny, you never know. Any Rick Blade match could be his last. You know what I mean? He came back, but there's no guarantee this is like a year-long run or 5 years. It could be one and done. Each time he steps in the ring, afterwards he might have the fulfillment that he was seeking and just say, yeah, I'm done. So, my advice is be there live.
Yep. Be there live so you do not miss it, everybody. So real quick, I want to mention this past Saturday, guys, was Celebrity Boxing in Philadelphia. Did you guys hear about this?
I heard all about it, bro.
Did you?
Giving me the entire
bit.
play-by-play of what happened, but
So-
I'm going to let you do the talking.
So
I'm ready
Declan
for it.
Grant had his first boxing match, and he kicked ass. Now, he lost by decision by 1 point. Keep in mind, Donnie, Ron Starr was literally one of the judges. Yeah. So I don't know what happened, but he didn't win, but he had a great match. I was his corner man, and so was my brother Robbie. Check this out. There you go. That's me doing my best Fame Fiella. That's this guy here. He's a rapper. So I wanted to get a picture with Fame dressed as Fame, but I didn't get it.
Oh,
It looks like Fame dressed as Skills.
It does. He
Fame,
looks like Skills
yeah.
the Great. Yeah. But Celebrity Boxing was a lot of fun. Damon Dash was there, which is interesting. I thought maybe something would happen with him, but it didn't. Sugar Shane Mosley was there. I got to meet a lot of people. They made announcements on the microphone since it's Harrah's, that we would be there November 2nd. Yeah. I got to meet a lot of the people and talk to them. The Mayor Stephen Root is going to be there. He's going to come to the event. So we talked to him, which is going to be awesome. He's
That's cool.
The mayor of Chester is just such a cool guy. So, but yeah. So I wanted to tell you guys about that. Now, obviously, guys, we got to talk about the Vince McMahon documentary.
Mm-hmm.
We can't not talk about the Vince McMahon documentary. So just to give us a little start, here's Don Montoya running the event this past Saturday at Wynn, and he wanted the match. The match was going long, and I actually videotaped him trying to call the match. Check this out.
I'm about to go pull a Vince McMahon on this bitch.
There he is. about to go pull a Vince McMahon on this pitch because the
That
match
could mean
would
a lot of things with him. Yeah, you never know.
I was just gonna say, Donnie B said it best.
What does
That
he mean
that
by
can
that?
mean a
Yeah.
lot of things, unfortunately.
So did we all see it?
Yes.
I've only seen, full disclosure, I've only seen the first 4 episodes.
That's plenty.
So
That's
I've
plenty.
seen. Yeah. I
That's
saw.
plenty.
I'm
all
like, I'm not
6.
sure if it gets better or worse or pretty much consistent.
So I got to say, you guys, I'll start us off. I loved wrestling as a kid, but I realize now, looking back at it after seeing it in that timeline, that it probably wasn't the healthiest thing for me, to be honest with you. I'm kind of looking back at it now, like amazed, but you know what it was? Wrestling had excuse my language, but a fuck you attitude to the rest of the world. They were the bastard son of Hollywood. Hollywood didn't accept wrestlers as movie stars back in the day. Sports didn't accept wrestlers as athletes back in the day. So wrestling had like a fuck you. So of course we identified with that as kids, especially when we were like nerds and didn't fit in. Wrestling was like where we went. And I always thought it was this Edenic, like a Garden of Eden, this beautiful realm that I got to frolic in. And now I'm just starting to look at it as a bad area, to be honest with you guys. Am I wrong?
I don't.
I think. Oh, go ahead.
No, Phil, you go first, and then I'll share my takeaways. But go ahead.
I think the question of it has always. Sorry, my mic just went weird on me. I think it's always been there to a degree. Like I remember consciously when I first got in the business, I was like, is this a place I want to be? But at that time, it was a few years just after the steroid scandal, and that other drugs were around, and that just wasn't the culture I was in or wanted to be in at the time. And it was like, maybe, let me see if this is really where I want to be. Plus, I had the decision of, do I pay for training now? Do I go to college? And I was like, well, I'm going to go to college, but I'll start working in the back at different companies and see if this is the business I want to be in. And it was like, I didn't see it. I might have seen a couple people drink after their matches. And it was like, okay, so like, I knew that there was the question of the drug piece. A lot of the stuff that came out in the documentary, I think if I had known that, then might have made me question a lot more about what the hell am I getting into?
Yeah.
I'm a little older than you guys. Yeah, go ahead, Tommy.
No, Donnie, go for it.
I was just gonna say I'm a tad older than you guys. My fandom starts in the late 70s, but when we had initially joined, we never ever. I say we, I mean me and Nova. We never set our feet on the ground and said we're going to be in the pro wrestling business. We actually joined Mike Sharp's in happenstance. We had a very good friend of ours named Rich Lom. He's the wrestling figure collector online. He does all the custom made still. Went to high school with him, lifelong friend. He wanted to join Mike Sharp's, and Nova and I went with him. And at the time, Nova looked at it like joining a gym or like men's volleyball league or something. That was going to be it. Just go and train 2-3 nights a week. No delusions of grandeur. Nothing. And then Mike was down a referee for his bi-weekly school shows, and he asked me to do it, and that's how I got in. And next thing, one led to another, and we started doing indie shows. But for us, it was the camaraderie of our brick clique and our friend group that traveled every weekend, the 6 to 8 guys. And so that was our drug, the traveling amongst each other. We were all straight edge, 10 years before punk. So yeah, we didn't delve into any of that. We just did our shows, trained, and just got better in the business. Some of us went further, some of us got out. But yeah, that was our thing, man. As far as the Vince documentary goes, I've spoken about it before. I don't know Vince very well at all. I had dinner with him one night when we did the Mark Henry in China skit. And if any of the stuff is true, and there seems to be a lot of evidence that it is about the things that he engaged in over the last several decades, it's abhorrent, it's terrible, it's unforgivable. But I can only judge him on this brief interaction that I had. And it was, hey, you guys just did this incredible spot with Mark Henry in China. Would you like to join us for dinner? And we said, sure. It was myself, Mike Keener, Twiggy Ramirez, Inferno Kid. I think that was it. And we sat and ate with Vince, Triple H, China, Vince Russo, Shane, Stephanie. Now you got to imagine, we're just some scrub indie guys. And here's the who's who at Baltimore Jackson, Baltimore at this table. And we were just waving as we were leaving saying, thank you for the spot. And Vince waved us over. and said, no, I'd like you guys to stay and have food with us. And we were like, what the shit? Like, do we just order a glass of water and a plate of water? You know what I mean?
Right.
So we sit down, and they're handing the menus out, and Mark Henry looked at me and kind of gave me like the Iggy to order what we want. And I said, well, I really don't want it. And Vince himself said, you guys can get whatever you want. And I just remember like popping them all and saying, well, I'll take the left side of the menu, please.
Right.
And that got a little chuckle. And so after that, we were leaving, and Vince himself, Vince McMahon said, you guys come tomorrow night too to get a second payday, because we're going to show what you guys did here on the big screen. I want you guys to see it in a live reaction in front of the crowd. So as indie boys, we got a double payday down in Baltimore 2 nights in a row, man. I think it was like $420 something total, but that's like $1 million on the indies in 1996 or whatever it was. So that's my Vince story. And we left.
What did you eat?
I had grilled chicken, and I think potatoes. I just remember grilled chicken and potatoes, but I just remember them ordering everything under the sun on the table, and they couldn't have been cooler, dude. We were just 4 scrubs, just in for the night on a shot, doing our little deal and then leaving. But they were cool, and that was it. I know my brother always spoke highly of Vince, how he treated him, and he said that Vince was, besides our dad, he was the second hardest working guy he ever met in his life. So I just hope whatever happened, the victims can find peace. Vince can find some kind of peace if he's deserved of it. If not, all sins will be paid in due time in the afterlife. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens. But that's my thoughts on the documentary. I have 2 episodes to go, but it's nothing groundbreaking. I mean, it is what it is. It's pretty much everything I've already known. So we'll see how it ends.
Well, you said it best, because that was pretty much going to be my takeaway. And I watched all 6 episodes. I watched them with my girlfriend, who's not in the business, who really didn't know a whole lot, excuse me, about the business prior to meeting me. But what's funny is she actually works as an interior designer and was assigned her company, that is, to work for the Stamford office. So she actually got to, have an integral part in designing the office. So that was her hook for watching this documentary with me, is she wanted to, I guess, see if this would, I guess, give any sort of anecdotes as to Vince McMahon, the person. And I think the recurring theme, what you had just said, is that people in the wrestling business, or people who have been fans of the wrestling business their whole life, nothing really shocked them, because it was an unknown known. It was known that, Vince, was this outlandish person who, very much portrayed himself as like a Jekyll and Hyde. He was known to have these very bizarre things, like you can't sneeze in front of him, you can't, whatever. I wish that it was more of that. Instead, what I feel like we got was a very basic story of the WWF into the WWE, and all of the stuff that has been in the news recently, which, if you watch the news, or if you have a cell phone, you're obviously going to know what it is. I wish the documentary focused more on telling the stories that weren't already told. But I thought visually it did an awesome job. I love watching all the old footage. I love watching the Attitude Era stuff and the 80s stuff, and all of the stuff that, from the archival footage. I still think it's hilarious that no matter how many times it's talked, every single time they talk about the screw job, it's still this big thing. But to that point, people who aren't aware of wrestling don't realize that was the day that wrestling changed forever, at least on a grand scale. So that, I think, was the one good thing that they did, was they showed how Vince had slowly been walking across the dotted line to putting himself out there in the camera, and then it took real life controversy and created cash.
What I think disappointed me the most is, and Donnie, I think you'll understand this, Gorilla Monsoon and Vince McMahon helped raise me as a kid. Listening to Vince talk before Vince was Mr. McMahon, he was like Mr. Rogers. He was always the guy happy and trying to get the fans. He was the one that made the fans feel part of the event. He taught us what to think and how to feel. And when I was 5 and 6 years old, that mattered to me. And I looked at him the same way I looked at Mr. Rogers. So for Vince to turn the way he did and become what he is in the ring was awesome to watch. But now when you watch the documentary and you realize how much of it was actually real, it starts making me think I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Like, here's my opinion is this, and you guys can tell me I'm wrong. The only reason they got away with the Attitude Era was because TV was analog. If you didn't watch it, you didn't see it unless you happened to videotape it. There was no replay. There were no clips on Instagram for the next 10 days where, it's coming out your ears. So the DX making the girls show their boobs and all that crazy shit Goldust was doing, America didn't even see it or know about it, even though it was on national TV. That's a mind fuck. Life ain't like that no more. You can't get away with shit now.
Well, also, and I don't know if you guys remember this, like, but on Springer and Girls Gone Wild and all this shit, that was the norm. Like, girls flashing, everything you saw in the Attitude Era was actually taking place. Like, I was in nightclubs quite a bit back then in the very early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. And a lot of the behavior, you'd see that, like, right in a nightclub, like, people doing that shit. So it wasn't like some weird occurrence. It happened all the time. And
It was a
But I
product.
agree with you. Yeah, I did think it was, and maybe you guys would know better than me. Was that the first time I never saw Triple H take accountability that he knew about the screw job? I'm pretty sure this was the first time. That one, I had to rewind that. I said, whoa, because when he said he was in on it on the phone call with Sean and Vince, and I was like, oh shit, he finally admitted it. So that was the first time I had heard that.
Well, I know Sean and Brett did that sit down with JR a couple of years ago where they pretty much spoke like at length at like where the both of them mentally were at from the minute they had even touched the first time to the minute that, they had worked at WrestleMania, et cetera, et cetera. The whole between the screw job and the stuff with the steroid trial, I think honestly, my number one takeaway, the only person who seemed more contradictory than Vince was Hulk Hogan.
Oh, that's a given. Yeah, I mean,
yeah. There's one great part where he's talking about the Andre match and it's Terry has a habit of embellishing the stories, but like you literally see him talking and he's squinting his eyes, and I had to rewind it like 3 times because I'm a fan of just stupid, preposterous shit like that. But that got a good pop out of me.
Well, remember, these interviews were all done before any of this shit came out. Vince was still in power, so of course Wood was angling for one more run. Anybody involved with this project still was looking at Vince at the top of the mountain. This would be vastly different if it was today. These interviews,
with the exception of Bruce Pritchard. Bruce Pritchard, part of his
pretty
interview
straightforward,
was right?
Yeah,
but
he was. Yeah, I agree.
So you'll see, because I just realized you haven't gotten there yet. So in the last episode, maybe I won't spoil it for you, but I'll try to speak to everybody watching.
Yeah, go ahead.
In the last episode, they have shown now Bruce Pritchard the previous episodes, or at least some of the previous episodes. And so in January 24, they're like, what did you think so far? And they're like, oh, it was a hit piece. I think this was a hit piece on Vince McMahon. And then he talks about, and what they do showcase and a little bit more in that episode is the nice side of Vince. I'm not going to say they went full tilt that, but he talked about how Vince helped paid for cancer treatments for his wife. They included Chris Nowinski and his research on concussions and how the WWE changed their protocol around concussions. Which has also led to the clip that was the most talked about clip from this past weekend at the events I was at, was Steve Austin going, I don't believe it's after saying I've been concussed and I don't know, and like he made this weird face after he said I don't believe in CTE.
You would think that
CTE shamed.
You would think that all things considered, people have pointed out that he did the exact same thing in Japan to, I forgive me if I'm not pronouncing the name right, but he did the exact same move where he dropped a guy on his head right like years before the same thing happened with him and Owen Hart. So to just say that is like, you're disagreeing with science.
And I agree with, I mean, when I say the next thing I'm going to say, I totally agree with you. CTE is real. I understand from the era he came from where that was hotly contested as a social topic versus a scientific one. Because there was a lot of conversation about the NFL and concussions and those people. There was a stigma, and even Chris Nowinski talks about this too. There was the stigma of you're just weak if you have a concussion,
right?
Not like you've like damaged yourself neurologically because of repeated trauma. Like, and so part of me is like, I want to hold him to the standard of no, Steve, you need to like look at the research. Yeah. At the same time, I kind of understand generationally where he was coming from his perspective. I think his perspective was wrong.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, go ahead.
No, Johnny, go.
I know someone that had CTE, and it affects his test. He's got to be on testosterone every day now. So CTE can even affect your hormones. It can make you so you have low testosterone. So it's not just concussion. It affects your whole system, your whole lymph nodes, your lymphatic system, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
I will say, did you guys notice on that? And I've always thought this was kind of weird. As far as Vince, Stephanie, Shane, and Linda, they always all refer to him as Vince. They never call him Dad. And I thought of everybody on this thing, the one I felt the most sorry for and just like was Shane. Just talking about like the strained relationship with his dad. You can tell from day one, he just wanted his dad to be proud of him. Just wanted a normal relationship with his dad, and he never got it. Even when he went to Vince and begged him to buy the UFC, and Vince just shit on him and said it wasn't a good investment, that probably killed him deep inside, dude.
Oh, and you haven't even seen the Family Business episode yet.
No,
but I'm just talking about stuff that
they
I
explain
know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They explain that they say they call him Vince at work, and they only call him Dad at home when no one's around to hear it. They kind of say that.
Okay.
Stephanie really drives the point home about that, where they all have they compartmentalize how they approach Vince. It's like if it's at home, it's Dad. If it's at work, it's Vince. And
but I'm glad you brought up Shane.
McMahon.
I'm glad you brought up Shane, because Donnie, that pulled on my heartstring too. I noticed that, and I'm not. Just let's be honest. Is Shane not right now, as an adult, like the best looking he's ever been in his life? Like he just looks like a good, like he could be our president. I'm sorry. Anything Shane does, I'm behind him. He seems like a normal, nice guy. Like,
because I think he got away from all the insanity.
That's what I'm getting at. I think Vince was like a king, like King Arthur. Imagine King Arthur in Camelot in his own little court, like House of Dragons. And everyone is just, yes, you're the best, Vince. Whatever you say, your hair looks great. It's like the emperor with no clothes on, right?
Yeah.
Right. And after a while, Vince just starts thinking that everyone in the world cares what he has to say.
Mm-hmm.
And when he goes on these national broadcast talk shows, he talks to America like he's talking to Bruce Pritchard and fucking Jim Cornette in the 80s when he's booking. And you can't talk to the world like that, because the world doesn't care what Vince has to say. They just look at him as a guy. And that's the problem that I came across when I was watching it. I kept getting embarrassed that non-wrestling people watching this are going to think he's like a joke.
Yeah.
Right. They didn't do a good job of explaining, like Shane went on to form a multimedia company in China and is now on the board of directors for, what is it? I had to look it up. Ideanomics. Like, I felt a little bad that they kind of made it look like, he was like cast out, and then they'd call them a couple years later to say come back. Like,
revisionist
trivialized
history. That's what happens.
And I wonder the intent, and that's one of the questions that has come up about the people who made the documentary. What was the intent all along? And even in the first couple of episodes, Vince is like, I only see who I want you to see, and he tells a story, and I can't remember which one now. And in the middle of it, the producers behind the camera, or somebody behind the camera, was asking, "Is that true?" And he's like, "Well, it's the truth I'm going to tell you. So it's not the whole truth. It's like what I want you to see." So of course we're looking at it with a lens going back from an interview that was filmed in 2021. But it was like, well, what was the intent all along? Was it to blur that line of Vince and Mr. McMahon are the same person? Because it was before the formal allegations were brought forward. So where was the intent? But I will say there's definitely some creative timelines going on.
There's definitely some creative timelines going on. And what you had just said, Phil, where, it was shot before the allegations. That's just the tip of the iceberg, though. You have to think, they brought up all the things, like with the female referee, with the steroid trial, with all of these, different things, unfortunately. So I don't know. I think truthfully, whoever was behind the documentary always had ulterior motives, and Vince is going to tell whatever story or perspective Vince is going to tell. And it caught up to him.
Well, it was Bill Simmons. Bill Simmons was in charge of this, and he's done an incredible job over the years of being quite fair to the WWE. And he's a big wrestling fan, and I think they went in it with the intentions of showing a 6-part documentary that somebody probably sat Vince down and said, "You're getting close to the finish line here in life. Would you like to have a comprehensive look at your life that people, your grandkids and people can go back and look at?" Now, Vince probably didn't. what shocked me about this, if these allegations against Vince are true, even if there's 1% of them true, that he would sit down for this and film this entire thing knowing that this was hanging out there, like the sword of Damocles. You know what I mean? Like, how could he put himself out there like this and knowing, instead of just crawling into a hole and never being seen again,
Right.
he was so braggadocious. He just said, fuck it. I'm going to do this 6-part series. I'm going to only show them. That's the other reason I think it's really going to be tough to prove that case against him unless there's some kind of video or something like that. Because I think Vince is never going to tell us what happened, ever.
I don't know. Have you gone through the lawsuit or seen any of the shots
Every
from
page.
the text messaging? Yeah, that is the part
text-
that I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, the text are one thing, but Vince is a master of spin, don't forget. So I'm sure, like I said, if it's just him and her and there's some text messages, this is probably going to settle out of court, I'm sure. And I'm almost willing to bet my life there's either going to be a book or a movie or something from her chronicling her side of the story. And God bless her, she deserves to have it told. But I wouldn't bet the farm that Vince is found guilty of anything, criminal-wise or just civilly-wise. I think it's going to have to settle out of court eventually.
And we haven't seen the rest of the text messages, like from his side. Like, will it be more damning if we do?
Correct. Unless there's something like, I'm sorry I assaulted you or something like that. I can't believe he would be that stupid. Saying that he shit on her head or something and all that terrible stuff that he did or was alleged to have done is one thing. But the he said, she said is going to be a tough one, especially if they throw Johnny Ace into the mix and he's called to testify at some point. That's going to be interesting which side he chooses. That's the key to the whole case, in my opinion.
Donnie, if there really is a trial, it may end up on television. It might be heard. And
that's why I don't think there ever will be. I think there's zero chance of that. I think Vince hightails it out of the country before that happens.
Or dies.
Yeah, he could. He has enough money to string this out indefinitely.
Just go to Epstein Island and live your days out.
Yeah.
Donnie, let me ask you a question. Today is 1996. Do you let your girls watch Raw?
Yes.
97, 98, 99?
Yeah. Because I think as a parent, you have the ability to know your child, know what they can absorb, know what they've seen. The stuff that kids see today on the internet and that they get a hold of is 10 times worse than the thing that happened in 1996 to 1997. There's been footage I've had on here and there from the Attitude Area. And I've even showed them some spots that I was in, like as a security guard of Vincent, and they just laughed at it. They were like, wow, look at that. The first thing they always said to me, why do those people have all those signs in the audience? Like, they didn't understand that. So I don't think it would be that shocking to them to see a woman scantily clad or people bleeding and stuff. Like, shit the kids see today is 10 times worse than that. But yeah, if it was 1996, I might sit back and go, let me preview this for a little bit before I can let them watch it. But, you know, I was 20-something at the time, but I mean, my mom and dad, I was watching wrestling since 1978 with the big red X, with the claw and blackjack and all. It's like my mom and dad didn't regulate it.
So some people mentioned to me that they thought Tony Atlas had too big of a role in the documentary.
I definitely think he did.
Okay.
I don't understand why he was on it at all. No knock against Tony Atlas.
He might have been the only one willing to say that shit. Nothing to lose.
I think of that era, he's the only guy that can actually conjure up, a decently enough, interview. I mean, who else can and would from that era aside from Hogan? And they got Hogan. Who was going to go and speak? About what it was like.
He was friends with one of the producers. Somebody had to have some kind of connection to Tony Atlas.
I mean,
because I doubt they said, "Hey, let's get Tony."
If you look from that mainstream perspective, he was the first
black tag team champion
in WWE. He is a former Hall of Famer. So to the mainstream audience, Hall of Famer. Who's this guy?
And he was on MTV True Life from back in the day. So
I would have had him on for like one episode or like him, but he was in
he
quite a bit.
paints a picture though, like the way he
does.
He paints a picture.
He paints a picture, and on top of that, if nothing else, look at Trish Stratus's interview. You had mentioned your daughters. I think if there's no more of a candid female perspective than Trish Stratus or Linda McMahon, and they both did a phenomenal job at painting. Wow, like this is the CEO of the company, and we're doing this. You know, people got to realize too, it's lightning in a bottle, time and place. You know, the world was pre like what the internet would become in the late 90s, early 2000s, you know, the instant gratification era and having to see everything, you know, the second it comes out wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we were dealing with an abundance of content.
You know, I don't mean to judge anybody, especially Tony Atlas. All right. Who am I to judge? But I'm going to be honest here. You know, like someone like Tony, like Pat's dead. You know, Pat, what the hell? Can't even think of his name. Patterson is dead. Right. So does he need to tell the world, oh, he grabbed my pecker? Like, to me, that was like kicking a grave. And for what? For what? That's the kind of thing, if it really happened, you say it while the guy's still alive. You don't throw it around to try to get a
catch-22 though, because we quote unquote didn't know anything about Moolah until after she had passed and whatnot. So are they to honor? Are we to arbitrarily honor somebody because they're not here anymore?
Right, but it wasn't a Pat documentary. If it was a Pat documentary, I'd understand that. But I feel, in my opinion, all right, now Tony, if he was right here, I wouldn't say this to his face. But I'm going to be honest with you. I think he did, that was bad for the whole business. I think it made the whole business look bad, everything he said. I think he should have protected it a little bit more. And I think that you need to be a human being before you're a wrestler. Okay. And to me, Tony came off as a wrestler before a human being, is how I looked at it. That's all. That's how I feel. But
I just personally make it a point to never try to expose or tell stories like that about anybody if they're no longer here to give their side of it. It's just my own personal choice. Like, I don't ever like to speak ill of the dead. I know a lot of stuff about a lot of guys who are no longer here from the wrestling business, and I just make it a point. If their name comes up, I said, may he rest in peace or whatever. I don't like to do that. That's just me.
No, you're good. Donnie, before, I know you have to leave early today. Do you want to tell us about your weekend? About what happened? I do have some pictures if I can show them. Do you want me to?
Well, which
they're the ones you had sent. I don't have to show them.
Are there pictures he shouldn't be showing us?
Some of them
don't show them, okay.
brother.
All right, I won't show them.
That's fine. But in a nutshell, I know you guys have all heard of the Costco guys, Big Justice and AJ. They're like the hottest things on TikTok and Instagram. They've got millions of followers. Yeah, Boom or Doom. They're killing it right now. It was announced today that AJ actually signed a contract with All Elite Wrestling to do one final match. That's true. So they actually did it yesterday in New York, and I was with them. AJ
did
asked
what?
me to come sign the contract.
Oh.
They did the match. Wait a minute.
No. The match is the location, date, opponent. None of that has been finalized yet. There's like several irons in the fire. I am not privy to all of it. I can tell you that. I'm privy to some of it. We did go yesterday to Barstool Sports. I accompanied Andrew and his family, and it was a great time. It was great to see a hardworking family just up there and just enjoying the fruits of their labor and success. Barstool Sports in New York could not have been cooler. They went there. They shot a bunch of content. There were representatives from AEW there. They signed the contract. They made the announcement. Those guys could not have been cooler. From there, they went over to Madison Square Garden and shot a bunch of content there for some stuff coming out. And then they went to the House of Highlights, which is a subsidiary of Warner Brothers Discovery. And they shot and were interviewed for several shows at that location. It was awesome, dude. And then we wrapped it up. We went to a little candy shop called Sweet Treats on Bleecker Street, and then John's Pizza on Bleecker. And it was awesome, dude. Just seeing like all the positivity of people coming up to them and like getting pictures and shaking. I'm telling you right now, bro, 1 out of every 4 people in New York City knew who they were. And that is not an exaggeration. That is not bullshit. 1 out of every 4, and not a single person was negative to them. Everybody was cool. Because I had my eyes everywhere. Just, like I had his back. It was his wife, his daughter, his son, and him. It was the 4 of them. So I just...
No Rizzler?
No, the Riz wasn't around. They were meeting with him today to do some stuff. But it was good to see Andrew. I haven't hung out with Andrew in a long time like that. And I mean,
Rizzler's their kid too, right?
No, the Rizzler's not their child.
What is he, a neighbor's kid?
He is I believe he's a friend. I don't know if he's a relation, a blood relation. I don't think so. He's just like a close friend's son. Correct.
I had no
That's
idea.
Not his child. No.
Can you imagine?
Super
That's
sweet
awesome.
kid, Christian. Super sweet kid. But it was just cool, dude, to see the whole. That's a whole world like I don't know a lot about, like Barstool, and like it's just like a giant warehouse with tons of people who just do stuff, and I don't know what they do, and that's not a knock, but it's just like college age people. Like you can just feel the energy and the enthusiasm. Everybody was a creator of some kind, and it just was infectious. You know, I was probably double the age of the average person in there, and it was just neat to see, dude. Even the creators that came over to MSG, they were cool. Everybody has something going, whether it's a channel they're working on or content or they're producing, just this web, this atmosphere, this biodome, like this self-contained world of creativity and the internet and social media. It's just such a living, breathing thing that, like I said, I don't understand it fully how it all works, but he does, Andrew does. And they're absolutely crushing it, dude. Like the numbers I saw on some stuff with their videos and everything else is just mind-numbingly insane how big it is.
So
they
let me ask you this.
For the next couple of years of stuff to do.
You got to explain something, Donnie. So this guy used to be a wrestler for you when me and Trent would wrestle for you in your locker room. He was just a wrestler just like us, okay?
Correct.
Grows up, has a family, starts making internet, social media, Instagram posts saying that he's the Costco guy.
No, he for like the last 15 years or so, he's been creating content with his family, even before the kids are born. Just like out shopping or doing anything, just constantly creating content, putting it out there, learning his editing skills and everything else until he started making content with just him and his son. And one of the videos they did, they were in Costco, and he said, "Hey, we're Costco guys. Of course we like the big double chunk chocolate cookie. Or, we're Costco guys. We love the chicken bake." And they did like this funny skit where they liked everything at Costco. And just for some reason, that took off like wildfire. I think to the tune of 50 million views, whatever it is, and everything branched off that. But he was smart enough to capitalize off it and had the infrastructure in place to create content after that, which all led back to that. And with the Rizzler and some of these other characters, he's created his own little boom verse. You know what I mean? And everybody is eating off of this. Like everybody is doing well. And it just, they're good human beings. The bottom line is they're just good folks, man. They're cool. I like to see good shit happen to good people. So
yeah,
that was my day yesterday.
They're gonna get a reality show, Donnie.
There's a lot of things in the works. You know, there's a lot of things in the works. And like I told him, I said, treat this like an NFL career. It could be over in a year. You could get 5 years out of it. There is a shelf life to this stuff. So I said, hit this as hard and fast as you guys can for the next several years. Save as much of it as you can and just see where it leads and have fun with it. That's the most important thing. If it starts going south and it starts affecting the kids or anything else and just shit can it, you know, that's that. They do turn down quite a bit of stuff, though. I will say that. Stuff they don't believe in or they don't think is wholesome. I saw the list of some of the stuff they've turned down, and even I was like, holy shit, you turned that down? And he's like, yeah, we did because we don't believe in it.
The Vince documentary they turned down, right?
No, but he is over the moon for this AEW appearance. A lot of work went into it. And I can tell you, there was other people other than AEW asking him to be part of their company. There was definitely somebody else, and he chose AEW. He wanted to help AEW because he loved what they had to say, and I'll just leave it at that. The story will unfold over the next several weeks.
Nice,
Good for
Donnie.
him. Good for
Donnie,
him.
this is big, man. I love when Donnie.
I'm happy.
Dude, you're like still got 3 witches left. You're a genie that pops up and still grants wishes to people. Like, say what you want about these guys, but you found them the same way you found me and Trent. You found these guys, and now they're a big success. But
we knew Andrew, and we got him into Mike Sharp's in the dying days of Bricktown before it moved to Asbury. And then Andrew was actually the one who recruited the Haas brothers to try out of Sharp's. Russ and Charlie.
What?
Yes, he brought Charlie in first from Seton Hall. He was friends with them from school. And that's how the Haas's got into wrestling. They started at Mike Sharp's, and then they went to Jersey All Pro.
When did Andrew start?
Andrew started in, I was saying 97, 98 maybe, somewhere around there.
He's a year longer than me. He's got about a year or two on me. Wow.
Mm-hmm. But we brought him in.
He's always big. He looks the same now as he did back then.
Yeah, he was friends with Ace Darling. So Ace somehow he got to the school through Ace and then through Meraldo. and then he came in and we protéged him, took him under our wing, took care of him, because he was so young. And then,
I had
like
no
I said,
idea.
he brought Charlie in. Yeah, there's so much lineage and branches of the tree from Sharps that people don't even realize, dude.
So
Yeah.
all of this actually goes into what I was going to say is that, what they're doing, the Boom and Doom verse, is perfect timing, because I don't necessarily think it would have taken off if they were reliant on a machine back in the 90s or the 2000s or network television. I think what they are doing now, creating a brand for themselves and then having the network television and wrestling brands reach out, I think that's why it's working so much.
They are the machine. That's the difference between now and 20 years ago. They are their own. Everybody can be their own machine. It'll crank out the success cranked out of it will be indicative of the work that you put into it. Whatever you fuel your machine with, you will get the results. If you fuel it with shit, you'll get shit. If you fuel it with content that's quality, you'll get that. And like I said, just sit back and enjoy it. It's going to be a fun couple of weeks.
That's awesome.
Hell yeah, it is. Hell yeah.
All right, my friends. And with that, I have to bid you adieu. I have to go pick up my daughter from CCD. Go ahead.
Wait, I got a surprise for you. So November 2nd, we now have the guy that dresses up as Rerun. Fred Berry. It's at Todd Rod 489. That's at TODDRODD 489 at Instagram. He will be in the house. That's him there with my brother Robbie when we went to meet what's happening.
I'm definitely getting a photo at Rerun, I can tell you that.
Please, the Rerun cosplayer, Fred Berry, will be in the house. We'll see. Maybe he'll
that just made my whole night.
Well, I think he wants to see Buffa. He's there to see Buffa Ayoo, I think.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you for that little treat. And I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
See you next week, brother. Bye-bye. All right, let's talk shit about Donnie.
Right.
His analysis means nothing.
It's irrelevant.
So I'm like, I have good news and bad news. Oh, yeah, good news and bad news. So
here's your good news, Phil.
Good news. And Johnny will be really interested in this. This is non-wrestling related, but it'll specifically feed Johnny's appetite. James Gunn has just announced, I'm going to read the tweet. Over the moon, excited to announce the newest DC Studios Warner Brother Pictures animation greenlit film for theaters, Dynamic Duo, the story of Robin, or should I say Robins, as in Dick Grayson and Jason Todd. The first feature film from the visionary Swaybox, a mix of animation, puppetry, and CGI, a script from the wonderfully talented Matt Aldrich, produced with our partners at Matt Reeves' 6th and Idaho. This is something special.
Hell yeah.
Just announced an hour and a half ago.
Wow.
So,
I mean, you're talking Robins and stuff. I mean, that's right up my alley. Come on.
Right. I think Johnny still might have a Robin costume that I gave him one time. Okay.
I can't find it. I know. I don't know where it is. You have it?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I used to have the 2 Batman costumes and the Robin. I can't find any of them. Wow. Honestly. Wow. But check out this shirt, you guys. I found a guy in the crowd at Celebrity Boxing was wearing this shirt. Look at it. OG. And this is the symbol for OG that I had made. There's a coincidence for you. You're going the right way.
Mm-hmm. Now you can't leave.
Now you can't leave.
Right.
Exactly. And check this out, guys. This was seen over Lebanon, a cross-shaped cloud. A cloud in the shape of a cross appeared over Lebanon. That's pretty neat, right?
Yeah. Hey, Johnny, do you have the light side of the ring graphic?
Of course I do.
Can we cue that up real quick?
Queued up.
I just want to put over the team that put together the Being 500 documentary. I believe it was Killian McMurphy, Big Dust, and a few others. Forgive me, I'm not familiar with the entire crew. I do know Killian McMurphy very well. But if you guys get a chance, it's a free documentary out on YouTube, and it's about the PWI 500. Simon Gotch, our homie, is in it. They have several other featured guests in it. It covers, I want to say, several years in the business. So from that standpoint, I absolutely have all the credit in the world on my. Let me rephrase that. I give them all of the credit in the world. It's available on YouTube. I believe it's called Being 500. And it's basically just about the PWI 500 and what it means to be ranked on the list and how the only numbers that people care about are either the first 10 or number 500. So, to anyone out there who
420
or 420, yes. So, to anyone out there looking for new wrestling content or just looking for, something, check this documentary out. It's free on YouTube. It's called Being 500. good group of guys. They definitely had a vision for what they had wanted. There was a scene that popped the hell out of me involving Zeus. So if you're a fan of Zeus, I definitely recommend it.
Nice. Good stuff. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, my friend, you have an update for us on Trip TV, which we'll get to in 1 minute. But first, I want to talk about this Friday. Tell us where we're going to be this Friday, brother.
This Friday, the stars of Juggalo Championship Wrestling will be invading For Us Wrestling out in Michigan. Stars of JCW include The Duke, Violent J, M-Dog 20, Matt Cross, the BackSeat Boyz, all three of us, myself, Johnny KASHMERE, and JP Grayson, the JCW World Tag Team Champions, Richie Boy Breyer Wellington, Deputy Dickhead, and the Midwest Outlaws. I'm sorry, the Midwest Misfits. Forgive me. Sorry.
Yep. Plus Jeeves. Jeeves will be there. And Matt Cross, M-Dog 20, is the current JCW heavyweight champion. Correct?
That's right. Yes, sir.
So that's going to be hell. That's this Friday. So we're going to have to leave Thursday and drive through the night, brother.
That's
Hopefully
right.
we don't hit any
bad areas.
No, we're going to we got to get Brian Logan to drive us in his Mustang.
Yep.
I don't want to park in a bad area, Johnny.
Just pay somebody $50 to watch it.
$70, by the way.
It's
It was
70?
50, and then when he showed up to get his car, he gave him another 20. So it was actually $70 he gave the guy. So
Wow.
yeah, exactly.
Fucking Logan.
Unreal. Gotta love Brian Logan, man.
Gotta love him.
So, all right. So that's this Friday. So give us an update on Trip TV, brother. What's happening? You are the executive producer, the Kevin Dunn, if you will.
Yes. Well,
No,
Trip
stop,
TV.
Just stop. We don't need any more heat. We got enough heat today.
I'm sorry. I was doing an impersonation of the Jim Cornette Kevin Dunn impersonation.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, no. So Trip TV season 2 is currently being put together. I said previously that Trip TV season 2 will be different than season 1 in that it's not going to focus so much on SPO wrestling matches. It's going to focus more on behind the scenes segments, road footage.
That's the selling point, Phil. That's the selling point. Everyone, you're going to love Trip TV. It's got hardly any SPO wrestling in it anymore.
Well, you didn't let me finish.
I know. I'm just
Johnny.
Go ahead. Because Donnie's not here. I'm going rogue.
The role of Donnie B will now be played by John Paul KASHMERE. Well, anywho, so what you will see is content and matches related to SPO wrestling. So you are going to see the matches that took place 2 weekends ago at Wrestling Is Now, such as the three-way tag between the backseats, the rep, and the unit. You will see Johnny KASHMERE take on Mike Whiplash, and you will see the Feral Face take on Hardcore Channing Decker. You're also going to see the match that my brother JP and I just had up in Canada against the Outrunners. The Outrunners. So, this is kind of what we've decided Trip TV is going to be. Any shows that we have that aren't necessarily being streamed, we're just going to throw them right in the Trip TV, along with, some road footage, some behind the scenes stuff, a lot of stuff that's not related to wrestling, that has to do with just the day-to-day lives of the BackSeat Boyz. It's going to be more or less the backseat vlog is what Trip TV is turning into. You might see some other stuff that's not even related to the backseats. You might see international reels from Buffa. You might see Phil's Road to Recovery. You might see Donnie B, trying on some new suits. We don't know yet.
In a bad area.
In a bad area. Well, I'm picturing the Spider-Man 3 gimmick where it's emo Peter Parker, but it's Donnie B walking out doing the, yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
We're almost done for the night, guys. Are you guys watching it? I want to talk TV. We never talk TV. Are you guys? I want to tell the world about 2 TV shows you have to watch. Number 1, Tulsa King. Sylvester Stallone. I think it's on Paramount. Watch it. It's like Sopranos. It is awesome. You've got to see it. It's on season 2. The other thing, if you guys have MGM Plus, do a 1-month trial if you have to. Pay the $6. It's worth it. Watch the TV show called From. From. It's got Harold Perrineau, who was in everything. You'll recognize him. And these people just fall off the grid and end up in this town. They have no idea how they got there. They can't leave. They have no idea what's going on. And shit kills them if they go out at night. It is one of the coolest shows ever. Brian Logan got me hooked on it. And now me and all my friends can't stop watching it. And it's season 2. Season 3 is on right now. So check that out. What are you guys watching?
I've been binging. So I just watched the Mr. McMahon documentary. I watched The Discovery of Witches. what am I? Oh, Agatha All Along right now is on Disney Plus. I'm a big mark for anything Marvel, so I've been watching all that.
Wait, Mystery? Agatha Mysteries?
No. It's a Marvel TV show, Agatha All Along, and it's a spinoff of the WandaVision series.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, I got to watch that. How did I not know that this was out? I'm still watching Acolyte.
Okay.
With the guy from Squid Game who learned English for the role. I am amazed by this man's mental prowess.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
He's in Squid Game, which is 3 years old. It just came out 3 years ago. He spoke Korean, fluent Korean, and now but it's funny if you listen to the way he speaks English, like you can tell he learned from I am John. How are you? Like you could tell when he doesn't have a certain like oomph in his voice.
And Squid Game 2 comes out December 26th.
Yes, the day after Christmas, the new Squid Game.
Wow.
Yo, Squid Game affected me. When I watched it the first time, it actually affected me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was like, wow, this is crazy.
That's one thing that I never, got into. Like, with shows, with me, I'll either be all for it or all against it. So,
Penguin, too. I haven't been watching Penguin.
I got to watch Penguin. I'm so behind on so much shit. It's not even funny.
Me, too. Did you see there's a cartoon Penguin now that's a female?
Oh, yeah, I did. I watched the whole series, the Batman Cape Crusader.
What'd you think?
I liked it. You remember how you watched Batman the Animated Series and it almost felt like you were watching something from the 30s or 40s to a degree?
Sure.
It is really that. And so it almost feels like, what if Batman was placed in the 30s and you had some of the same characters? To me, it worked. It really worked with, what did they call it? Oswalda. It might have just been, it really worked. I liked it.
There's a lot of film noir stuff in Batman the Animated Series that I think they've been trying to replicate, and really only works in animated form. Like, it's very hard to do modern film noir because it's a very slow story. You're not going to see a lot of fast moving action, but I think if you're watching a cartoon, it makes it better because it sort of has to be in a weird way. If that's what I'm picking up, what you're putting down, Phil.
And Kevin Conroy does the voice for Batman, but it's a different voice. Like, it's not the voice you've normally heard. And it comes off really well. But I did watch Crisis on Infinite Earths 3, the animated movie they had. I'll be honest, I hated the whole movie series DC put out, but they have a snippet of the Batman animated series Batman, and it's Kevin Conroy, and the last thing he says, "If this is how I want to go out, being Batman." And it was
wow.
It hit hard.
So let me ask you, because to me, the DCAU, the Batman the Animated Series, nothing will top it. It's sort of like, we as a society peaked with Batman the Animated Series, but is any of the Crisis stuff worth investing, or is it I'm just going to be watching 3 hours or 3 films just for that one part?
You're gonna watch 3 films for that part.
All right, I'll pass.
I hate to say that because I think there's so much more potential. If they had just told the story, I would have been happy.
But that's been DC's problem since for years now with these movies. I mean, they've been fumbling like a lot of their movies recently, so it just doesn't surprise me.
What I was talking to somebody about, like Marvel stuff, and I hate to say this, other than Spider-Man, we really don't know the Marvel characters as well. Versus DC, like we almost know a lot of the origin of almost every major character, a whole bunch of the story stuff that's happened to them. And so when we get it on screen, it's like, well, why are you reinventing and making this new story? Why do we need a gritty Superman? Like, come on. I'm sorry, Zack Snyder, that's just not my favorite rendition. So
yeah, I get it. Well, I've never been a Superman fan, so I really don't have a hill to die on in that argument. But yes, there is something to be said about the Flanderization of DC characters as of late.
Yeah. Well, guys, we're at the 8:00 hour. We just did an hour, and NXT first episode is on CW right now, so we're gonna let people watch it, and then next week, or if not next week, the week after, but definitely before we go on tour with JCW, we will have Trip TV right here at 8:00, either next Tuesday or the Tuesday after for you guys, and we're going to be announcing matches coming up all week. So start, it's begun. The push to November 2nd has started. We've announced a match, and I'm going to end it with this. But guys, thank you for tonight. And
one last thing, please watch JCW Lunacy live tomorrow at 6 p.m. on
Where do they see
Psychopathic
it?
Records.
Psychopathic Records on YouTube.
On YouTube. And I believe we're about to get started on the Rumble app. So if anyone knows anything about the Rumble app, it's like the YouTube alternative. Be on the lookout for that. You're going to see JCW Lunacy on that. Danger Ginger already said, I do not miss Lunacy. Hell yeah. See the new champions, the BackSeat Boyz, and the rest of the JCW locker room.
All right. And we'll end it with this. See you guys.